Hi, Brent here. Culture Rodeo talks with local artist Ellen McIntosh-Green about why she thinks this is her place.
Exhibition is called This Is My Place, and I tend to do paintings of where I live, what I find around me, and this is an example. This is some Joe Pye weed that was growing in the ditches along number 24 highway at one point, and I took all these photographs of it and subsequently did the painting. But it's just, all these paintings are this world around which we see every day in Norfolk County. This, the Asters is out near Waterford. Again, driving along the country road, and pardon me, and there it is, the color, the yellow and the purple and the grasses. And I tend to have this fascination with grasses because I was brought up on a farm, and I think I can remember walking down the lane to the bush at the back of the farm, and there'd be grasses growing up along the fence posts and along the side of the lane. And I think it's just in my psyche. I just get a paintbrush and I tend to want to make strokes of grasses and things growing. Let's take a look at the lilies down here. I love lilies, and they're everywhere at a certain time in Norfolk County, along the roads, in people's gardens, and what a joy to see that color. It's not, there aren't that many orange flowers that one sees, and there they are every June and July. I guess it's about July they come. Very, very wonderful flowers. And again, I tend to repeat patterns and brush strokes in my work. And it's an obsession, I have to say. Down here we have some echinacea, and at one point there was a huge field of it out near Waterford, and I was fascinated with it, and I would go there and photograph it and hang around, and I love the color. It was a beautiful field. This one down here is sweet peas, and they were growing along the road. I'm trying to remember where. Somewhere, it seems to me around Scotland somewhere. And I was blown away by the color and the pattern. As you can see, the pattern is all through it, and it's just as important as the color. This painting is Queen Anne's lace, and that was a favorite subject of mine. I loved Queen Anne's lace. Not too long ago, I saw a big clump of it right near somebody's driveway, and it was just a single plant all blooming with Queen Anne's lace flowers, and it was absolutely magical. Loved it. This gallery has paintings that I did around Long Point and Port Rowan. I just have a thing about tundra swans, and I tend to paint them over and over again. I love them. And this is one of them. I drew all those swans in carefully. When I did this painting, I would draw 10 swans at a time, and then I'd give myself a break and walk around and do something else, and then come back and do 10 more. But they're all put in there very carefully. I didn't just copy the same swan over and over again. I think they're all different. Another obsession. This painting is the causeway when you're coming down from Long Point to toward Port Rowan. And I loved it, the way the grasses are growing and those old willow trees in the background. It just spoke to me. And so I did that painting, which again is pretty typical of my work. This one is out at the Long Point Company, out sort of in Lake Erie. And when you approach it, there are all these laneways or alleyways lined with rushes. And it's absolutely beautiful. And you're just sort of going between all these rushes and in your boat. And it was idyllic. I loved it. And the colors, again, the pattern and the contact with nature. It was so moving. I did several paintings of these rushes. And this is another one of the causeway, a later one. This is my most recent one of the causeway. I went down there about a year ago and fell in love with this little thing. It's on the other side from the one we just saw previously. This is seagulls, again out at Long Point. And we were driving along the beach in an overland vehicle. And as we approached these seagulls, they just took off and went into the air, and the air was filled with them. And it was absolutely wonderful. So I did a painting of them. Again, you can see how obsessive I am doing all these little birds. It took forever, but it's kind of simple, and yet it's complex at the same time. These are two small paintings, one of the tundra swans with the goose in it, and this is the seagulls again at Long Point. This is one of my favorite paintings. It's a field of clover, and again, it's very simple, but it's full of movement and lines and the kind of color you'd associate with clover. And I feel again that it comes from my roots, that I'm sort of pulling that out of my psyche, the pattern, the color, the way it all works on the canvas. And this one was out near Scotland. And I was driving along one day, and all these little white flowers were on the roadside, and I just fell in love with them and got out and did a whole lot of photographs and ended up with this painting. Some trees. I think I did this on the Lynn Valley, or from the Lynn Valley Trail, where I tend to walk on the Lynn Valley Trail a lot, and this is a vista, which I loved, and I enjoyed doing the trees, and I like the linear quality of it, and the way this color works against the linear trees in the foreground. It's again very simple, but it says what I needed to say, basically. This one, I think this is from the Lynn Valley Trail as well, and I think it was early in the spring, and I fell in love with the river and the growth along the river, the trees that haven't really come to life yet, but there they are. And I just, I have to sort of love a site before I can paint it, and that one, I think you can tell I cared about it, and I really wanted to render it the way I felt it. And similarly with this one, I think it was near Port Rowan, and I've done the same thing. I've just found all these grasses and shapes that spoke to me in the landscape, and probably drove myself crazy making all those strokes. This is a field of pumpkins near Waterford, and I was driving around one day and thought they were wonderful. The pink rooftops and the orange pumpkins sort of had to be remembered somehow, and there they are. And this is sumac, and I've done a lot of paintings with sumac, and it always excites me the way the color works, as you would expect with the way color happens in sumac in the autumn. This is a little painting of the dogwood tree that's outside my porch window in my back garden. And it just is amazing in the fall, and every year I'm in love with it all over again. And one year I painted it, and that was it. It looks like I've exaggerated the color, and maybe I have a bit, but it needed it. For the past year, I've been doing collages and just having a wonderful time. I glue on pieces of fabric and corrugated cardboard, whatever I can find, string, and you name it, and then I paint into it. There's fabric up here in those clouds for some reason. I just make it work. I glue the materials on, and I use acrylic medium as my adhesive. And then I paint over everything. Once I've glued everything on, I paint over the whole thing with the acrylic medium, and then I can paint with oil paint on top of that and do whatever I like with it. And it's a really fun thing to do. Here again, these are the lotus blossoms down at Long Point, and I have several different. This is one kind of fabric. This is another. This is corrugated cardboard, and there's another fabric back in here that I glued on, and there's fabric here as well. You just sort of make it work, and somehow I find it liberating. These are, and most of these things are themes I've done over and over again in my paintings, and these again are the tundra swans, there's stuff glued on here, corrugated cardboard. I've cut out some of these swans and glued them on, and then the negative cardboard that I cut them from, I glued that on and painted into that, and just had a ball trying different things. These are the seagulls again. And I just cut them all out of cardboard. Again, it's obsessive, but it was fun to do. And this is corrugated cardboard stretched a bit so that it's flattened. And this material is the material that's on my sofa, but I painted these darker lines in to give it some distance. Again, here's clover. I've put fabric in. I've cut out, I had an old glove that had a fuzzy lining in it, and so I used that. I cut out pieces of this glove and then glued them on and painted over it to make these fuzzy clover tops. You can do whatever you like in a collage. Get away with all kinds of things and have fun. That's what happened with these. They're just great to do. And this one is a still life. I just hadn't done a still life for so long. And I got this horrible fabric down at Len's Mill Store, and I cut out these flowers. It was just the sleaziest fabric, and this was part of it. So I framed that as a little painting and cut out mugs, and there's a mug negative shape there. I just had fun putting shapes and colors on, and it was, again, it was a liberating thing. And the final one up here is Red Pines of Norfolk, which I've painted over again over the years. And you can see the cardboard, there's cardboard here, there's fabric here, there's fabric up in the sky, but I painted it all blue. I worked better blue. And it was, and this of course is fabric in the background too. And that can be either trees or it can be water. It's whatever you think it is when you look at it. And that's what's good about these collages. They can be different things to different people, and art should be that way.
For Culture Rodeo, this is Brent Hansen reporting.